Alright, hello everybody, Mr. Anderson here. How's everybody doing? Hopefully well. Today's video is very specifically a detailed review over this trading system, which we want you to learn in detail. You know, we started with the indicators, and then I explained how that relates to the trading system itself. And then from there, we started to branch off a little bit to understand some elements of the trading, whether it's anatomy of a trade or support and resistance, things of that nature. But I want to go back to this because I want you guys to learn this system like the back of your hand. I want you to know it so well. You see it as completely simplistic. I want that in your mind to say, this is so simple. I know it every which way. Because I spoke to a couple people and I actually got the feeling that, you know what, their view was a little bit off. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to start fresh. We're going to start over with the system, right? I'm going to write some notes here. All right. So we know the system, right? We're going to take a high time frame signal from our indicator. In this case, more than usual, usually that's going to mean the golden child, right? If you're going to a higher time frame and you want to utilize something like God's Eye 2.0, then so be it. But typically it's going to be the golden child, right? So we take a high time frame signal. Step one. Once we receive the signal, right? Once we have our signal, mark it. We'll review this in a minute so you understand what I'm saying. After that, turn off the signals. After that, shrink your time frame. You don't have to do this, but obviously it makes your trade sharper if you do. After that, turn on HA Heikin Ashi candles. Look for entry. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to put this here so that you have it. You can pause it, write it down, take a picture, do whatever you like. Pretty simple, right? We've done this, we've gone over this, ad nauseum, I would assume. But not enough, because this is what the reality is when you start talking about trading. First of all, there's a saying that the most difficult thing to do is to truly learn a simple system. Because it's in our nature to go off of it, right? We want to veer off. And I allow that too, feel free to go off, add, do some twisting. But first get it, right? First you got to get it completely. And then if you want to go off it, feel free. This is a little bit too large, in my opinion. Okay. We'll find a good number. Alright, so there you go. Take a high time frame signal from our indicator. Here we go. The golden child. Boom. Alright. Why am I doing this? Well, I'm going to show you. So these were our signals, right? We're literally going to mark off everything on this is a weekly scale. You see that? I'm on a weekly scale. We're going to do a few different things. We'll go down, but we're only doing the system in this video. And this is a video you should watch several times, even if it seems like, hey, you definitely got it. Mr. Anderson, what are you talking about? I know this. Okay, good. Know it better. Okay, you really want to know this stuff. So what I'm doing right now is I'm highlighting the areas in which you are in a buy, because the reality is we're in a buy until we're in a short. That's how the system works. You remain in a buy. So green box is buy. So you see these high time frames on a weekly scale? The entire time from here to here was a short. And these my indicators, they don't repaint. I don't know if you know what that means. If you don't know what it means, don't even worry. But basically, short version is they don't go back and fit to the data. They basically are going, everything that's after this point, it actually looks going from the past forward, so that you're never going to have a situation where it decides to paint a pretty little candle after, or a pretty signal. That's a lot of tricks that people use out there, so you got to be careful when they got an indicator that looks magical. Remember, all indicators lie, even mine. Alright, so here we go. I'm going to get rid of this for the time being, or at least get it out the way. So why did I do this? I marked off red boxes, right? Now normally you would just get your signal and you would trade everything short until you were long, right? You might say, well, how would I know if it's going to switch? Well, first of all, if you're on this time frame, you'll know. But you could also do something like this. I'll talk about this in a minute when we go to the lower time frames, but go into this little section, put up two charts, right? You could have one with your Heikin Ashi, one not. One with the one that doesn't have Heikin Ashi is going to have your signals running. You can keep them running just in case you get a signal flip, etc. But obviously, when it's high time frame, you don't have to worry about that because you only have to check it once a day or so, or if there's a dramatic move to the opposite direction. So there we are. Take our high time frame signal, right? So let's see. Now I'm going to turn the signals off, right? Because it says, once we have our signal, mark it. I did mark it. What you would do to mark it normally is you can come in with a line, something like this, or an arrow, short, right? Or one of these guys. You see this? Down. That one is better probably. So that you know basically where you started going short, right? If you happen to, obviously you're not going to forget it, but for homework purposes, when you're doing the review, it's better to mark it. When you're live and in action, of course you're going to know you're short, but it's a good habit to have. So just going forward, just for this example, right now what we're going to do, any red box, as you can see, is under a short. Any green box is under a buy. Red is under a short. Green is under a buy. Red is under a short. Okay? So here we go. Here's our system. I'm going to turn off the golden child. Why? Because we already marked it. Turn off the signal. We don't want to see them when we go to the lower time frame. It's just going to confuse us. Okay? I know some people got confused because I did a video, and it was basically the whole point of it is I was saying, look, you can keep the low time frames on. Don't go against the lower time frame signal as an extra precaution, right? I think that threw some people off. I tried to clarify it a few different times, but the idea was that was just in case you watched that video and decided you were going to run out and trade. I didn't want anyone to get burnt, and that's kind of the reason why I went through that. All right, so here we go. We lowered our time frame from a weekly to a daily, so we're going to trade on a daily scale. I like this because there's a lot of people out there. A lot of you guys say, "Well, I don't really want to trade every day. I want to be able to look, once a day. Maybe set a couple alerts once a week, whatever it might be." Well, that's what this first example is anyway, right? High time frame. So let's see how it would have worked out. We seen this was long the whole way, so you know how that would have worked out. Golden, right? All right. Well, let's see this. Now we got to flip it to Heikin Ashi. So we got our signal. We marked it, we turned off the signals, we shrunk the time frame to the daily. Now we turned on our Heikin Ashi. Here we go. So, first and foremost, when you're on this high time frame, you can see the signal came boom right there at day one. Okay? First thing is, on a lower time frame, you want to certainly wait for a candle flip, right? We say look for entry. What does that mean? Well, let me go and mark this here, because that could mean a couple different things. Usually, it means looking for a color change, right? What does that mean? Right there, so you have it. In case you wanted to stop, pause, take a picture, do whatever you want to do. I'll make it clearer for you here. Okay, let me get it out the way. Alright, so usually that means looking for a color change. So if this was a 1 hour chart, I would say, well, first of all, if you were early, right? So if you're right here and you got that signal, yeah, look, feel free to jump in. Just know that, hey, it can turn around on you. And if it does, it turns green, you're going to get out. But you can enter. The whole point of the waiting for a color change is that you don't want to recognize the signal down here where it's dropped all this way. Then you enter, it pops back up, you get stopped out, and you have to, now you're all flustered, right? But if you get in early enough in that signal, meaning you've seen that the red just started pretty recently, by all means, jump in. So I'm not doing this to make myself sound good or anything like that. Let's just mark it off. If you would have gotten here, great. You would have had a several day trade to about that area right there. I'll just keep that color. I'm not really worried about the color. And you would have got out on the color flip, or if you've seen a divergence or support or anything along those lines, we'll get into different types of exits down the road. But with the ones you know, Heikin Ashi, right? Immediately you would have gotten short again. Why? Color change. Any red under the big weekly short, you're going to short, right? So daily short lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Maybe you got out on day 5 when you dropped down here. Maybe you waited all the way to the 8th day when you had the color change. That's fine too. Either one, huge gainer. Another one right there. Nice gain. This one, flat. Maybe you lost a little. See that one right there? Let me get that out the way. See this one right here? You would have had the color change, back to red. Oh, things are going to look good. Nope, went to green the next day, you were out. And this, with the Heikin Ashi, sometimes this means it popped up. Now, the moment you started seeing green, if you got an alert, or if I've talked to some guys that said they found the Heikin Ashi color change indicator. So maybe, and whoever it is that has that, go ahead and email me that if you guys can, and I'll send it to everyone else just so that you guys can find that. I don't have that personally, but basically that's a good idea. You're in a trade, you don't want to watch it, you just want to see when the color change happens. It'll probably go ahead and send you an alert when that happens, so that's good. So you get the alert, it's green. You know what? Doesn't mean you're going to watch it go up $100 or $500. You see it's going to be green, get out. So anyway, that happens. This was probably a loss, if not a small gain. Now, if you happen to jump out and started to move a stop loss, meaning you see that it was started as a gainer here, probably about 600 points. So if you had a trailing stop that you started to move down, then great, you wouldn't have lost. But either way, it's not the point. I'm not trying to make these sound better. I don't mind small losses. Small losses, in my opinion, are what makes you a professional trader, right? A professional trader says, that's my money, I'm taking a loss. I'm happy to take it because I'm waiting for this one right here. Boom. See this? That's the kind of move we want, right? This patience that you had got you this massive move, and then this, which is literally like a 50% drop. Well, you might say, look, the market ran up. Okay, well, that's the point of this system, because the market ran up in all this time of the market moving from 5,800 to 11,800, right? Now, on lower time frames, there were counter trends that you could have played, and that's up to you. That's not what we're going to look at right now. But on this time frame that we are focusing on, this thing jumped 100%. And what happened to you? You had one tiny losing trade right there. Flat to losing, right? You had the color change, it dropped down. By the next day, it started going back up. It wasn't a major loss. You certainly didn't feel it after you had this huge 50% gainer. Okay, so here we go, all the way back. So wait a second, we would never short after this big run. Why wouldn't we short after this big run? You better believe we'll short. Look at this thing. Just understand this, right? This is basic TA. Resistance. More resistance. Boom, 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 boom. Comes in, plays around, head fake. Red. Our system says we short it. Why? Because we're on a high time frame short. We stay in a short until we're in a long. Signals are the signals, right? So boom, another good winner. We get out here and look, big run. Double top. New resistance. Better than the double top. By the way, you know what's beautiful about this is that this was tricky, man. A lot of people got hurt here. I remember when that happened. And that was a tricky one. But your system had your back. You're on there big time short. Red. Nice gainer. Flipped out for a day or two just in case. You didn't want to let this run back for a triple top. And that happens. Sometimes you get triple tops. Big gainer again. You're out. Good. Nice. Little loss right here. See this? Flat loss. Call it what you want. What I call it is trading. Successful trading. Boom. Big gain again. Then again, you get caught here. Now, some of these, by the way, down the road, we're going to learn. Like, hey, you might ignore some of these, but I don't want to ignore any. I want to take them all and show what would occur. So that was a loss, right? Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I said that. I'm looking at green. Color change right there. Another winner. I'm thinking I'm already counting the loss. This one, color change, small one. This is at least flat. Maybe a small loss. And then it went back green. Alright, well those were shorts, and shorts treated us golden. We did wonderful. That's your system, guys, right? And then over here it turns green, right? We marked it off. So now we're only looking for longs. Now, remember what I told you. Big move by the time that we get the signal, right? As far as the actual candle. We don't want that. We wait for color change, come back again. Nothing huge, but a winning trade. And by the way, maybe you waited for the color change. Maybe it wasn't a winning trade. Maybe it's a flat one. Either way, it's fine. Same thing. Winning trade. So in this environment, you did get a little quick buy signal. You made a couple trades that were either flat or up. Good job. Now here, short signal, but it was down, 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 down. Short signal. So yeah, ignore that one. It was a lot of movement. You would have to wait it out 5, 6, 7 days, right? Now, if you went on a lower time frame, you saw another entry on H4, so be it. 4-hour chart, that's fine. That's great. Maybe you did get in over here. But if not, you waited it out, you were patient, waited for green, and then you're red again. What happened? You're rewarded. Then you had a little chop right there. You got a fake candle, but your system gets you out. No harm. And when it gets you back in on the color change, boom, another winner. Get you back in on the color change, boom, another winner, right? What happens? We get a buy signal. Alright, we had a buy signal. It was at the end of this run. Wait for the color change back right there. Huge winner on the buy side. Now the huge winner was followed by a nothing right there. Little flat one. When I say flat, I mean small loss, small gain, whatever it is, you know. Not going to affect us. You're using decent risk management, etc. You do these, you rather cut your loss, get it out, say get buy, because you want these, right? When this happens, you're not going to risk. This isn't a casino, right? You don't want to risk this amount. We don't risk this amount here. No, right? Because look, you're under a long, and what happens? Huge short happened. Well, good. You didn't lose any money. And maybe on a lower time frame, you had that play, and you played it. Great. But you're still under a long, right? So here we go. Boom. Got out. This one here, in the one day, you had that big move, but it looks like it got ugly really quickly. So who knows? That was flat. Maybe a loss. Maybe you got out because it was jumpy. Nothing great right there, right? I don't want to give credit to something that wasn't good. So let's just act like it was a small loss. I have no problem with small losses. Back in right there. Huge gain. So in the midst of all this nonsense, you're getting gain. Gain. These are days, right? Multiple days at a time. Flat, I'm not going to call this anything. In fact, I'm going to go and run through this whole thing. You can see flat, getting out, choppiness, ugly. Even I was saying at the time, you know, this is just choppiness and garbage, right? Because this got ridiculous, like the triangle. Regardless, though. Some of them are little winners, you know, just don't want to take credit for it. Just call that flat for the most part. But you can see, for the most part, you're killing it, right? System kills it. Killing it. Doing well. Flat, small losses when they are there. Then what happens? We get the big short that takes us under support. Now pay attention. You're following your system, and if you're not, it's okay. You're just learning, right? But if you did, some people did. Some of these people really did well with this. First of all, massive trade, right? That was followed up by a very short, nothing trade, and then another massive trade, and then yet another massive trade to today. So obviously anyone who's been taking these consistently has been killing it. I bet if you go to a 3-day, it's probably even more effective. So let's say you're on a weekly and you cut it down to a 3-day. Yeah, exactly. So on the 3-day, if that was the time frame you wanted to play and you have that right, you can see the Heikin Ashies. You're given a little bit more room for possibility of losses and things of that nature, but you stay in those trades much longer. You see that? So now you're in a long-term trade. And then again. And then again. And I see there's a little break in there, but again and again. And then up, 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 right? And then down on this 3-day the whole time. So you literally would have been in from 6,000 to the current spot at 3,200. Anyway, so let's go back to the daily. It doesn't really matter. By the way, the other side of this, if you're using, you know, it matters of what's your anchor chart. What do I mean by anchor chart? The one you're taking your signal from. So if you're using the anchor chart and you want to use, you know, a 12-hour, it's up to you what you use, right? I mean, you know, weekly, daily, they make sense. But you can go to something like a 12-hour. The rule still applies. You're following the signal, right, of your weekly, of your anchor chart. So that was your win. And that was your win. And that was your win. And that was your win. So instead of having one whole one, there was a couple. So you might sharpen some of those a little bit. There might be times where it works against you. Even a 6 hour, right? What happens? You're only looking for shorts. So all these big shorts you would have rode down on that 6 hour. See that? Now there would have been more chop on some of his ways up, but then big move, big move. Nice move, little move, big move, little move, little move, little move. So you sharpen them up a little bit. It's up to you how you play those, of course. Now the other side is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase all this. I am going to copy this if I could. Alright. So let me go ahead and erase everything. Why? Because now I want to go to a 1-day chart. Let's do this whole thing again. I just showed you a weekly anchor. Now let's look at your system with a 1-day anchor. Paste this again. Same rules apply. Turn the golden child back on. Golden child. Boom, boom, boom. Of course, we're not going to do as much here because you see more chop, obviously. But, you know, when you see 7 buys, it looks crazy, but it's all one buy. It's just a reassurance of the signal, okay? So don't worry about that. You're under short. Let's go ahead and mark them off again. So this was a short until it was a buy. I'm only going to mark the shorts first. Sorry, one more. This became a short right there. I'm hoping to find some bad ones because I want to show you something here with the bad ones. Let's see. This is good choppiness right there. All right, and then basically almost the whole thing, and then again right there on the daily scale. All right, now the longs. Same thing. I don't want to go too far back in time. We'll be here all night. Turn these green. Longs are going to be green. So I'm marking them. I'm only doing this because, you know, we're giving an example. And you can do this and doing research and practicing. Normally you wouldn't have to mark it this way. You could just mark one little arrow and you know that that's your direction in the actual trade. In this learning process, you know, I really advise you to go through this stuff. And you can see we're not cherry picking anything, right? So what am I doing? I marked them off. Let's bring this back in here, right? Let me get rid of turn off my signals. Lower my time frame. I'm going to go to a 4 hour. Say, hey, we were trading on the 4 hour. Change it to Heikin Ashi, right? Now, I might not go through all of them here. Let's see how quickly I can go through them. I'll try. All right. Now, what happened? We got a short signal there. Now, this one was early. So since it hasn't plummeted on you, you could take it if you want on the 4 hour immediately. Great. If it happened. If not, don't worry. You wait for the color change. Get in here. You can see it still was a winner. Color change, you're out. Back to red, you're in. Now here we see a couple trades that just flat out didn't work. Actually, just one. Didn't work. Flat. That's fine. They're not going to work all the time. If you had a 25% hit rate, and it's much higher than that, but if you had a 25% hit rate, you would still make a significant amount of money with the system. So the idea is cut small losses, get big gains. Okay? Boom. You'll see that the majority of the time, even though you're going to set stops and things of that nature, just to play it safe and do good risk management, this is getting you out long before that. So you're not even hitting your stop. Tighter stop, right? Here's a loss again. It's good. I don't mind those losses. You'll hear me say that forever, right? Here's another loss and another loss. So one there. You know, I know they look flat. They might be flat. I'm calling them losses just in case, because sometimes, again, with the Heikin Ashi, they appear like this, and really might have jumped up in the color to make the color change, so you got to be a little careful with that. All right, this one, whether you snuck in another short or not, who knows? So it doesn't matter if we count that one. Now here, it was about the third bar when this long came in, so maybe you played it, maybe you didn't, maybe you got it in a lower time frame. If you did, you won. If not, don't worry about it. You got in over here, another small win. You take them all. You're out on the color change. Want me to zoom in on this? Is anyone missing this? What am I talking about? You're going too fast, Mr. Anderson. Well, very simple. We were in. We got out on a color change. The moment we see that red, get out. We're not hanging out, right? You might also start seeing this long tails. So, oh, that's not good, right? Longer tail isn't necessarily beneficial. You could drop your time frame if you want. Sharpen your exit even more. You don't have to do it on H4. We're just doing this for the sake of what's normal. But if you decide to sharpen it and cut your loss, cut your gains and save some of that money, feel free. Or hey, I really popped up here. I sold half. I decided on my own to buy it back here. That's up to you. Those are some of the things you're going to make, but I'll make decisions on. And we'll talk about some of that strategy. But the point is, let's look at this. Let's know the system. Back in. You see green, you're back in. Someone asked a question, do I have to wait till the 4-hour candle closes? No, you don't have to wait. Now what might happen is you start to see green and then it closes back red. Well, you get out, right? It's a very small loss if that happens. But if you start seeing that green, of course, you get in. If you like the setup, get in. Flat right there, right? So that one, not much of a winner. Even these small, very tiny winners, if anything. You take them over losses, of course. Now look at this one. Boom. At 1 point. Very, very significant. Oh, you know what? Is this nonsense tether? Let me see the date. No, that's something else. Okay. Either way, let's put it down here anyway. Still a nice one, right? I don't want to try to make it look like I'm trying to sound better. Even this one, it's a small win. We're going to call it flat. Then, another one. Another one. The percentages have actually been significantly better than I would normally think. They've been really on. I expect chop in these situations. That's a flat one. This one, big gainer. Then, flat there. Why? Because it's a pullback, right? So you start seeing this pullback. Even if you decided, hey, I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just following the signals verbatim, I don't care, I'm not going to get into details of pullbacks, that's fine. You don't have to, because you'll see that if you consistently do that, you're going to make money. That's the idea. I want to show people how to be profitable, because once you see this, once your eyes open up to, wait a second, I'm actually able to see how I can profitably trade, I'm telling you, it's going to change your perspective of the market. This very simple strategy. Now, of course, you have a powerful algorithm that's guiding you of what's more favorable for up moves and what's more favorable for down moves, but at the same time, because obviously, you couldn't just use Heikin Ashi by itself, it wouldn't make sense. So ultimately, you're being guided by the higher time frame. But the idea is this simple system, utilizing that and understanding that. Now we're in short because of the red box. You see that? Basically, what that tells us is that you're going to be able to start to see some differences. You'll see how the market moves a little bit different. It's not going to be the way it was before, which is more gambling. Right? Before it was gambling. This is a structured approach. If you go to Vegas or you play casino games, I might be able to give you some example here. If you don't, then this example might lose you. But in a casino, you can come up with a strategy, right? You can see all these are small wins. You can come up with a strategy in a casino, but ultimately that strategy is kind of limited, right? You're either gonna get closer to 21 or not in blackjack, right? How much more you could bet a little bit differently. Your risk management could be in play a little bit. Roulette, either way, you got terrible odds. But the difference is that with this, one, you have risk management where you can say, look, I can risk 1%, 2%, 3% max. Great. That's one element that's beneficial. But two, you could formulate an actual system like this that says, you know what, I'm going to make it so that I lose 0.1, 0.2, half of my 1%, whatever it might be, and get rid of it. But when there's a winner, it's a whole different ball game, right? Understand what I'm saying? Meaning you're in control because you're saying, no, I'm going to make sure that I don't lose significant amounts of money, right? But when I do win, I'm winning 6% there. Now you're talking about, this isn't a casino game where it's 50-50 at best, and really, even blackjack, you're less than 50%. So this is something where you're talking about 16-1. Now, obviously, beforehand, you wouldn't say, hey, I'm 16-1. You might have measured that when you took your R&R and measured it too, like resistance area. But regardless, what it ended up being with the system, 16%, you were risking 1, right? And even if you said, oh, I was risking 2, All right, well then really that would be even double. So still it's 16-1, right, in terms of how it played out. Not the R&R, but how it played out. See what I'm saying? So that's the benefit here. And maybe you didn't cover there. Maybe you covered right there, which should make sense. So 11%, even that. So you're talking about significant gain, or a system that's going to say, no, I'm going to protect my money above everything else, because I don't care if I'm in a, let's say I started short here, right, and I got green, and whatever reason I got out and I didn't get back in, and then this happened. Who cares that I didn't make that 11%? At least I didn't risk something going the other way on me, which would have been a big loss. Big losses are far worse than the equivalent benefit of a big gain. We'll get into that math another day. But ultimately, back into longs. Here we go. Little guy right there. Flat. Nothing. Call that one a loss. Win. I know this probably seems rudimentary. Why am I going over and over? Because I want you to see. Basically, red we're out, green we're back in, and under a buy signal, right? Red we're out, green we're back in, didn't do too much, red we're out. Now we're back to shorts. All right, we're short here. Maybe we got out there, maybe we didn't. Maybe it was a flat trade. That's fine. Back in because you got green, you were out. Red back in. Nice little trade. This one didn't give you much. I'll just kind of run through them. This one didn't give you much. This one was another short. Perfect. Now we're back to longs. Look, choppiness, right? But look what happens in this choppiness. What would have happened? Worst thing that happened to you is what? Flat. Small gain or small loss. Small gain. Flat. Small gain. Small loss. Flat. That's just choppy market. It's not that you did anything wrong. Now I like this one because we're under a short. This is my favorite. This is actually my favorite because I want you to see what happens here, right? Let's make this much bigger so we can see. It kind of looked small, right? But these are big numbers. So here you go. You got a short right here, and that short lasts for a long time. And here you go. You say short, big winner, right to here. Right to there, wherever you want to call it. Color flip. What happens? 1, 2, 3, probably bad trades, right? Flat, small losses, whatever it might be. Okay, on the H4. And another one. 4 of them. Finally, you get a decent little trade out of it. And then you get another one of these. Well, why? Because it's uptrending, right? It is, but you haven't got a buy signal. So, what's the signal know that we don't? Apparently know something, right? Because here you are, you're still making money. And what happens? Your patience pays off, which we'll show in a minute. But these losses, and this one might have sucked, depending on where it caught you. You know what I mean? This looked like a big jump. It might have caught you. If you didn't have a stop loss in place, whatever it might have been. Whatever your stop loss was, it was probably a full stop loss. This is probably the worst one that we've seen in all the time that we've been going over it. And what was this? Some kind of manipulation to get one last pump in before the dump, right? So this was pure manipulation, big volume. They wanted to pump this puppy up to sell off. Somehow Golden Child was snuffed it out though. Got this short signal right here. This was when, see this moment right here in time? Boom. See this volume? Look, markets are manipulated, guys. You gotta accept that reality. We deal with that reality. It's every market, not just this one. Market makers that were holding Bitcoin knew what was coming up. They dumped it right then and there. These guys said, "No, we gotta bounce it back up. See what else we can unload before we flush this puppy." Because what happens? Run up, and then this thing just gets crushed. So in the midst of this run up, we're short, right? We opened 3 or 4 bad trades, and still this gain was more than all that. And then you kind of got some back there anyway. And then what happens? Boy, does it pay off in a big way. Huge winner. Nice winner. Small loss. Huge winner. I mean, if you're in these things, when these are happening, the smile is It's hard to describe, right? And this is happening. You're excited. Trust me, the guys that hit it, they're loving life. And many did. God bless you guys. For the guys that didn't, don't worry. But I do want you to see the system so you understand. I know we went over this when it was happening, but maybe you guys weren't getting it then, right? So green, you're out. Wait for red. Got back in. This one was a loss because you had to immediately get out. Got back in. Nice little game, but maybe you didn't get out there. Maybe you got out here. Maybe it was flat. That's fine too. Another flat. That could happen. You might have, you might trade 2, 3, 4 trades in a period of a few days, and all of them might be flat or small losses. Does that mean you don't know what you're doing? No, it means you know what you're doing. You're not going to gamble and have a situation where this thing takes off like that on you. That's not trading. Trading is, I believe it's going to go down, and if it doesn't, I'm out. And if it dances around too long, I'm out. If it plays around with me, I'm out. I'm here to make money. If you're not here, you're not marrying these men or women here, right? Depending on you, what you are, if you're a man or woman, how you look at this. The point is, you're dating them. You're in, you're out. Now, by the way, this could last for, you could be in for a month, 2 months, 3 months, longer. But the idea is that you have to make a decision based on the chart. And if this happens, you just get out because it's your money. If you have $10,000 here, you're going to let it play with you and try to fake you out, because here's what this saved. Here's the problem with this, right? Here's what I want you guys to see. Here's the beauty. To me, this is almost as beautiful as this, right? Because you're short, obviously. Why? Because you get the color change. You're out, right? You say, well, that's nothing good about that. I probably lost a little bit of money. Maybe I was in at 5,500, I had to sell at 5,580. All right, I understand that. But understand what happened. This thing then went up to, and I remember this, was that Sunday night, that flash run up to about 5,700. It was a question, hey, is it going to try to close the week back over support? And it did not, right? It got rejected right there. The bears were ready. They sent it down. But imagine you were watching this. You're heavily short. You didn't decide to cover. That would have worked out, right? But during this time frame, it was 4 to 8 hours. You would have watched your position go from 5,500 up to 5,700. Who knows what you would have done? Maybe you would have sold it up there, covered up there. That's the whole point, is we don't want to be in this position where we're sweating it out. These decisions don't need to be hard. Trading is not about making hard decisions. Now, the hard part is doing the TA and doing the work and preparing, right? You guys ever hear that Abraham Lincoln, I think I posted something like that multiple times before, where Abraham Lincoln, he was the United States president, he says, if I had 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening my axe, right? The whole point is to be prepared. Preparation above all else. So your work is in the preparation, which you'll learn over time, but the decision shouldn't be hard. You say, well, why am I going to just follow a Heikin-Ashi color chart? Well, first of all, you're not. You're following a signal, and then with that, you're utilizing that for your guidance to say, hey, am I right or wrong? Because a lot of times what will occur is you are right. Your TA is right. This thing's going down. But how do markets work? Let's squeeze it together, right? Yeah, it looks down, but when you look a little closer, it's up, down, squiggly line, up, down, up, down, down, up, right? So they don't just move straight down, even though it might appear that way over time. And that can become emotional. You don't want that. You want to take the emotions out of it. So here we are. We got the big gainer, right? Another one out on the green, back in on the red. Another nice move. Even if, and this one could have came back against you, and maybe it ended up not being a nice move. Now, if you had a moving stop loss, you still would have had a gain here, which is good. But either way, we're not trying to get picky here. We're just pointing out how the system works, which is green, you're out right there. And why? So you don't have that risk of this thing popping back, V-bottoming on you. Back in, flat, maybe a win, maybe a loss, doesn't really matter. You didn't do exactly what you wanted, so you got out. Back in, nice, good game. Back in, good game. This one, obviously, in between, there's a little loss there, right? We're not ignoring that. I'm just trying to be quick, okay? So you guys get the point? Out, in here, this was a loss again. Think, oh, it's not working, but then you get a little rally, and she gives you another one. I have to cough, I apologize. Alright, sorry. So, here we are, back to green, buy signal. Whether you got in here or not, doesn't really matter. If you waited for the color change, that's fine too. Now, if you got it real early and said, hey, it hasn't gone on me yet, maybe I waited for a higher high on the candle, you got in, you could have done that. If not, you wait. Right there, nice signal. This one, probably a loss. But that loss protects you from all that, right? Protects you from all that. Got back in, nice. This is the indicators to know if this thing trying to make a run for it or what. So here you are. Everything's moving down while you're in a buy signal. And yet it's enough to protect you. You got some losses here, yeah. They're not major. And your little wins offset them. So you probably made money here. You definitely made money. Nothing to write home about, but you didn't lose money. Even though you technically had a buy signal and a bear market, right? So the signal swaps back on the daily, says, nope, you know what, we are going to go further down. And what happens? You wait for that color change, because this is a little late. Green, you're waiting, red. You had a little move there. Doesn't matter how much you caught of it. You would have caught something for sure, because it moved down enough for you to move the stop loss down and make sure you gain some profits. You waited for this rally, got in again, nice. Pretty simple, right? This one was a small loss. Why? Because you got your green, flipped right back to red, and then flipped right back to green, so you got out. Little pop back again, you re-entered, nice. You guys get this? Everyone see it? Someone asked me about a 1 hour. If you're got some time, same type of situation, no difference. Color change, right? Color change green, you got in on the red, you ride that down and wait for the green again. You might have got chopped out a couple times, smaller time frames, you're going to get chopped out a little more often, but when you're back in nicely. Cover some on the way down, couple chops, and then it pays off. Another big win. Protected from these pops the majority of the time. Sometimes they'll get you, the color change comes and it's already running up. Still, more often than not, you can see the benefit. So, that's it. That's the whole video, right? This was just pure review of the system. I want you guys to review this in detail. I want you to know the system better than you've known anything in trading before. Because this is a system that will absolutely make sure that you're profitable. And it's going to, whether you see it now or not, and I've heard from a lot of people say, yeah, I am seeing things differently, etc. Great. But whether you realize it or not, it's going to start to change the way you think about trading. This process alone, we're going to add, right? We're going to add so much material over the course of a year, right? But believe it or not, that material, although some of it's more advanced in nature, you're going to get it easier once you comprehend this. I give people an example. I don't want this video to go too long here, but I don't know, if anyone's taking calculus, right? What is calculus? Right? Calculus is basically algebra, but at a more advanced level, right? Whether you realize that or not, it's nothing. Everyone likes to make calculus sound like it's super advanced and difficult. It's difficult for sure, but really what it is you're just you're finding properties of derivatives and integrals of functions, basically very detailed algebra. But what's the problem with that? You better know your algebra. You better know it in detail. Understand? And then, of course, there's levels upon that. You have Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus-based physics, things of that nature, right? And all of it's still the same elements, right? So, I think, calculus, which, means small pebble, right? And it's used for counting and for calculations. And ultimately, the idea, though, behind calculus is to create a scenario to where you're building upon what you've learned already. It's the same thing in trading. You don't have to understand calculus, but what you have to understand is that we're going to build upon. So if you don't know this, just like in calculus, if you don't know your algebra, you have no chance in calculus, zero. There really is no chance. Calculus is the study of continuous change, right? So with this, the continuous change is that, you're going to add, right? You're going to build on, you're going to sharpen. But if you know the simple system in detail, and you're disciplined with it, and you know that, above all else, I'm not going to change this very much. I'm going to stick to the majority of this. Now, I might veer off the path a little bit, I might create the signal myself, but then I have my signal. Great, it's down. And I'm still going to respect elements of this. I'm going to respect the Heikin Ashis. I'm going to respect my anchor chart. And then when we start building, you'll start to see it differently because now you'll see those things as an additive, right? So if I bring in things like moving averages, say, okay, well, great. Now the moving average is telling me something great. I can utilize that in conjunction with this. When we start talking about other spots that we're going to look for our exits, it's going to make sense to you because you're going to see that, all right, well, wait a second, maybe I don't have to wait for this Heikin Ashi because, there was some element of support built in. Let's give an example. You don't need to learn this right now. I'm just saying that later on, the idea here is that what we might see, sometimes you'll see these Heikin Ashis, right? You might get caught like this one, right? Well, maybe over time, as you start to learn support and resistance, in this area here, you might say, well, wait a second, this thing is literally sitting on a support. So maybe I want to wait until it breaks down before taking this trade. And maybe that's why this one was a wash. So over time, you might not have taken that. Or you might have switched your time frame, switched your anchor chart to a lower time frame, and more than likely, this probably would have started to show a buy. Regardless, the whole point is that you'll start to see the market different. You don't have to see the market that way right now. Right now, you just have to see it as a system. As a system that you can make money with, which is the whole point of this anyway. Because the reality is, if I said, look, guys, instead of trading, I'm just going to give you money for the rest of your life every single week. You'd say, okay, you know what, that's fine. I'll give up trading, just go ahead and print me money, right? Well, basically what I'm saying is, look, I'm going to give you this system because it's a way to profitability, okay? Now, of course, you're still going to have to trade, and you're going to have to learn to trade. But you could start with this basic system, and that alone is going to get you there. You guys might remember that, I have something on Twitter that I put out. It was another very basic system, right? Obviously, this system's far more advanced than the basic system that I posted because it deals with algorithms that are based off buy and sell algorithms that I created. But let me see if I can just pull it over real quick. I don't need to, but I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the moving average. Let's see. Do I have it here? All right, let's go ahead and pull it in there. You guys know this one? So I put the system out, right? And it dealt with some Heikin Ashis, and it dealt with a 10-20 crossover, which, we'll get into different elements of moving averages eventually. But the idea was that it's simple, right? It says people just hate simple strategies. I said, well, the simple moving average strategy is one that changed my life. It didn't change my life because there was anything revolutionary, right? Why did it change my life? It changed my life because I started to see things slightly different. Understand? I started to see the market differently. That was the changer, right? I started to say, well, wait a second. There's a simplistic view that tells me, you know what? I understand counter trading is very, very profitable when you learn how to master it. Obviously, you guys know I'm working on a counter trend indicator. That is wonderful. But counter trading is also what gets most people hurt. So if you go with the trends, right? You go with the move. That's what we're doing here. The path of least resistance in this box is bearish. So we're looking for bearish moves. And that's why when our Heikin Ashis go red, they have a tendency to give us bigger moves. Because we've located the path of least resistance, right? And they continue to drop. So every time we go bearish, you start to see these little pops more significantly, right, than the green upside. You notice the biggest red is bigger than the biggest green. The second biggest red is bigger than the second biggest green, right? Well, markets by nature move down like this, but you can see the bigger moves are happening on the red side. On the green side, the same thing. We take the biggest green, it's bigger than the biggest red. The second biggest green move was bigger than the second biggest red because we're following the path of least resistance, right? Same thing here. The red moves far bigger than the green up moves. That's why we want to be on the winning side. We found the trend. The Heikin Ashis helped us jump on board, take a ride, get off on the green. On the red, off on the green. On the other side, when you're long, it's the other way around. You're on the green, you're off on the red, right? That's the idea. This is what I want you to start to see. I want you to start seeing things as a path. You should see this as higher low, lower low, 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 right? You get it? Wait a second, what's happening? The market structure, a little bit of a double bottom. Maybe that's why my indicator turned over. Okay, not quite a higher high, but a lower high, a higher low. That's good. That's some progress. Not a lower low, but a higher low. Higher high. Oh. Higher low. Higher high. Higher low. Not quite, didn't get there, tried. Higher high. Uh-oh, market structure's rolling over a little bit, right? My indicator picks up on it. See? You guys get this? It's about structure. The market structure is pointing us in the path of least resistance. Now, modern day, what's happening? Obviously, super bearish, right? Let's go back to the daily. I know I have this mapped out differently, but super bearish. There's no other way to argue. What is this? Lower low, deep. What is this? Lower high, lower low. So when do things change? When we make some kind of jolt, right? We either want to take out this level, which will give us an immediate, right there, that'll at least give us some immediate idea that things are changing, right? Because we took out the previous, we would have made a higher high, a slightly higher high, right? Or at least versus the swing high. But it's not complete there. To truly figure out what's going to go on, we'll need some kind of retest. Will it come in the form of a higher low here, or a deep test like that? By the way, it can even come there, or here, or a rounded bottom. I mean, it can happen 100 different ways, but ultimately you're going to need some kind of test, preferably some sort of higher low, and then still followed by a higher high. And that might happen way down the road, right? But that's the idea, that's what we're working towards, okay? And no matter what they tell you, right? They want to tell you all kinds of things. I don't think I have good history on this chart. Let's see, this one doesn't have great history, but just as a basic understanding, like, yeah, sure, things might look terrible, and they might look flat. But as flat as this was even back then, this isn't the previous bear, but trust me, this is, you see those Heikin Ashis? You start seeing consecutive ones like that, which you don't want to see is choppiness when it's changing. This is a little bit more difficult environment. Still very playable, but when you see something like this, don't worry. This is easy money. I assure you, you're going to make a lot of money in that time. Okay? So if we get back to something like that, great. Now, I know a lot of you guys are making a lot of money now because you're on the right side of it and you understood the system. You've been following that system, okay? If you're not, don't worry. There's going to be more trades. You have to get it out of your mind to worry about what's taking place because there's been trades the whole time. Let me show you this, guys. One more thing and then we're out, okay? Let's say you missed all of this. Let's say you've been getting wrecked during all this. Somehow you've been going the wrong way. That's fine. You're learning. But start following the system so it doesn't happen, okay? Now, secondly, that doesn't mean you won't have chopped up losses, small losses. That's going to happen. But follow your system, okay? Write this down. Print it out. Put it on your wall. Make it pretty if you want. Do whatever you want. Frame it. Just like that, okay? Just don't post it online. But serious, in all seriousness, why am I showing you this? Because no matter what time you see, you do see that there's been big moves, right? The counter trends weren't much, but big moves, right? Big move, big move. This is before we were parabolic, right? Let me go back to the other. I want to give you the other chart. I'll take the time here. I'm sorry, because I do want to make this point that if you missed everything, I might have to clear some stuff out if I have some old data here. Okay, I think we're all right. Why am I showing you this? Unless we think that Bitcoin's dead, if that's the case, don't worry, I'll bring you guys all the Forex and stocks and we'll still make a bunch of money. But let's just say Bitcoin's dead. Well, we're going to get some kind of pop and we'll see that. The charts will tell us that. We're going to be short during that time, so you'll make a lot of money, right? We don't want to ride it to zero if that was the case. But at some point, we're going to cash out when it gets very low. It's not going to go to zero anyway, no matter what. But if it started to get down into those real low numbers, we'd say, hey, you know what, let's take our money and play in another market. But you'd be accumulating a lot of Bitcoin by being short because your Bitcoin would be multiplying. So regardless, we'll talk about that another time. But assuming it's not going to die, right? Well, let's look what happened. You had this huge drop. Where are we? Obviously it's not verbatim. It's not the same thing. there's resemblance to this part right here, strong resemblance to this part, and there's some resemblances to what's going on right here in terms of where we're at, right? Maybe we're here and we have to make a run up and make another deep spot. Maybe it's going to run out different. We make a run up and come do a retest. Whatever it is, the point I'm making is that, look, after this thing bottomed, or even here, once it occurred, you had a nice run up, playable. Then this was playable. Why do I know that? Look at the Heikin Ashes. Then this was playable. I already showed you, I went through a year to show you how well we would have done if we were using the system. It all applies back here too. If you don't believe me, I could turn on the Golden Child. Could even put it on this weekly, right? To get that high time frame, just to see what was going on. Well, I'll tell you, you were long all the way up. Then you were short here. You wouldn't have caught those because they were green. You were short all the way down. And we're still short until this candle, right? So you would have missed all that. Don't worry about it. There might have been some chop up moments on a lower time frame, but what you can see is then you were long on this system all the way up to all-time highs, basically. Okay? So why am I showing you that? Because you now have a tool in your hand. You're going to learn how to trade anyway without these tools. But you have the tool. So realize it and understand it, okay? That this is a benefit. Moreover, the reason I'm showing you again is that it's not gone forever, right? If it is, then that's another story. But if it's not gone forever, then there is going to be a time, right, where we get out of this. And even if it's this, don't let them fool you. This is very, very, very playable stuff. You're talking about 100% moves, 50%. The only thing that matters in markets is the percentage. It doesn't matter if Bitcoin's 20,000 or 200. If you have a percentage move that is 120%, you're going to make a fortune. That's the point here, okay? Hopefully you guys understood this. If you need to review this video 25 times, please do it. This is extremely important. You don't want to move on until you understand this in detail, okay? You don't want to look at the next video unless it says market update. Don't look at another lesson until you understand this system like the back of your hand. Hope everyone's doing great. I'm really excited about what's coming. We're going to start doing some live events, things of that nature, okay? So we'll get into some good stuff soon. What you have already, though, is strong, so work with it, learn it. We'll talk to you soon. Mr. Anderson, I'm out. Enjoy your weekend.